Can you purchase an Airbnb out here as an investment property with your VA loan? Well, the answer in short is yes and no. So we're gonna cover all the details and why you wanna know all the information before you go deep down this rabbit hole. So make sure you stick around to get all the details. See you on the other side. All right, guys, like I mentioned in this video, we're gonna cover whether you can purchase an Airbnb out here in Hawaii with your VA loan. I wanted to cover this because I get a lot of calls from service members who have this initial idea that they wanna purchase a property that they can live in, but when they leave, they wanna be able to utilize it as Airbnb because it can have some great returns. But there is some large caveats that we need to cover and understand so that you plan accordingly, because if that's your only plan, that might not be a plan at all. So we're gonna cover all that information, but before we do, let me quickly introduce myself if this is your first time here. My name is Patrick Longley. I'm a licensed real estate agent out here in Hawaii and have been for nearly a decade helping buyers, sellers, and investors and service members like yourself with their real estate needs. So with that being said, if you have any questions and you need some boots on the ground, I've got my contact information right here, or you can directly DM me on any of my social media platforms. Now, with that being said, let's go into all the specifics when it comes to Hawaii and using your VA loan to potentially purchase a Airbnb. So the first thing we need to understand is the Airbnb rules out here in Hawaii, which are very strict compared to lots of other states. Now, I've got a few videos here that go over the most updated Airbnb rules. They're always changing, and that's one of the big things that I tell my clients is that if you're gonna invest in an Airbnb, just keep in mind that it is a bit risky because depending on what side of the bed the government wakes up on, and I'm talking about the state government, they could change the rules just basically on a whim. Now, sometimes it takes some time, but you need to know that if your only game plan is to purchase an Airbnb and you have no exit strategy, if they change the laws, you have to keep in mind that there is a risk there. Now, I own an Airbnb myself, so I've taken on that risk. It's been pretty fruitful for me, but I have that in mind that if everything goes out the door and the government or the state government changes the rules, I might be screwed in that situation or have to sell my unit or just rent it out long-term, which I probably will break even on, but I won't have the lucrative cash flow that I have now. So with that being said, let's get a rough summary of what the rules are and things you have to keep in mind when it comes to the Airbnb rules out here. So the first one you have to understand is finding a property that's zoned for short-term rental, and that has a two-layer step. So you need to find a property that's either in a resort zone or is in an area that's been grandfathered in that allows for 30 days or less rentals. That is considered short-term. Secondly, you need to make sure that the association is allowing, even if it's zoned for it, they may say, you know what, we don't want Airbnbs out here, and you could have 3 people on the board vote to say no Airbnbs allowed in this building, even though we're zoned for it. So those are the 2 steps you need to verify. Number 1, is it in an area that allows it? And number 2, does the association actually allow it? And the third thing you need to get after crossing both those paths is getting your STR license, which you would get through the DPP, which you have to purchase every single year and re-up. Now, the general areas where these properties are gonna be located is gonna be in the general Waikiki area, certain pockets. You're gonna have Olina, which is on the west side, as well as Turtle Bay, which is on the north shore. Those are generally the only 3 areas that allow it. And you will see a premium price for those properties because of the turnkey business that you could get yourself into. Now let's get to why you're here. Now, can I purchase? Let's say I find one of these properties. It's in my price point. It's in the area. It checks all the boxes. Can I buy it with my VA loan? Well, yes and no. It depends on more rules to see, because we've crossed the boxes or checked the boxes for the rules for the state. Now we need to check the boxes for the VA guidelines. So let's briefly go over what those are if you were to try to purchase an Airbnb with your VA loan. The first one is that you have to live in that property for at least 1 year. I repeat, you have to live in that property for at least 1 year. So you can live it in a year, go rent a place later, and then do your Airbnb, but you have to live in it for a year. That is per the VA guidelines. Number 2, for a VA loan, it has to have a full kitchen. So a lot of these units out here that are zoned for Airbnb are in what we call condotels, as you can see right here, which is basically a hotel room that doesn't usually have a full kitchen. And the VA requires that you have a full livable kitchen in your unit if they're gonna give you a loan for it. So condotels are pretty much out, and those are a lot of the inventory that allows for Airbnbs. And the third thing, strange enough, is that if you are purchasing a property that's in an Airbnb zone and you want to use your VA loan, you need to make sure that that building does not have a front desk, which is strange enough because we do have a lot of these hotels that also sell their units that maybe are not condotels, but if they have a front desk, you can't check that box for the VA guidelines, meaning you can't purchase that property with a VA loan. So with that being said, can you find some of them? Yes, but it's definitely a needle in a haystack. I honestly maybe know 1 or 2 that would allow you to purchase with a VA loan because it's zoned for resort. It doesn't have a front desk. It's got a full kitchen and the HOA allows short term. I literally can only think of maybe 1 or 2. So it's very difficult to find, but it is not impossible. But just know that if you are looking to go that route, it might be pretty challenging and it might be a bit pricey. And generally when you're PCSing out here, you have a short window to figure it out. When you are either not here, you need to do a lot of research or connect with an agent like myself. Again, I got my contact information right here and I can build you a list of what's available. And when you get on island, you generally are only gonna have 30 to 60 days to find and close on a property before you have to make a decision, because those are the rules. When you get out here, it's time to get to work, and the military only gives you 30 to 60 days to find housing, which you're either gonna rent a place, live on base, or buy a property. So with that being said, if you guys have any questions and you wanna get ahead of this curve and realize what your options actually are, feel free to reach out to me. Again, I got my contact information right here, so feel free to give me a call or send me an email, or you can directly DM me on any of my social media platforms. With that being said, if you got any value out of this content, do me a huge favor, smash that like button as well as click the subscribe and notification bell so you get notified whenever I drop videos just like this. And I hope you guys have a beautiful day. I'm Patrick with PatrickLongleyRealty.com, powered by eXp Realty. Talk to you.